Whale Fall, Gone and Forgotten. Episode 2, The Diner. I'm sorry, sir. Could you do that again, please?
I said about something for you, miss.
I'm sorry, I believe I'm just confused. What do you have for me? I only just got here yesterday. I've never even been here.
I don't know what to tell you. Just got this file for you. Someone left it on the counter. Got your name on it.
File? You mean like a manila folder with my name inserted?
Right here, Ophelia Colt for immediate consideration. See, that was your name?
It is. And it was just what? Left here? By who?
I don't know. Just found it on the counter.
Interesting. Thank you, sir. Do you have any gloves? Okay. Field notes, file 2. Right, another file. A very sticky file. This one is The Diner by Isaac Mallory. Almost looks like a police file. Let's see. I don't care what the reports say. I know exactly what I saw, and it was not some sick deer or a bear or any sort of animal. I'm not setting foot in that greasy spoon of a place ever again. None of your little bribes or promises will get me in there. I'll tell you exactly what I know out here, not in there. Got it? It's not some heartwarming story about moving away from home to a little town and following my dreams. I graduated from high school and I moved out of my parents' place the moment I had the money for it. I hopped around, couch surfed, hitchhiked when I could. I got here on a series of buses and shuttles and following hiring ads like a drug dog. Lake Fargo's nothing special. Quiet mountain town with a tourist business propped up by colonial buildings and in a part of the state that's fortunate enough not to be in a dry county. There are hundreds like it in Appalachia, even if they're not on the maps. One thing this place does differently is the lake. Most places you'll find kids swimming in lakes all summer long. Not Lake Fargo. No one swims in the lake, which was a big disappointment to me when I stepped off my bus. I thought I caught a lucky break when I signed the new lease on my apartment. I figured I'd hide a bottle of something strong in the water to chill, then fish it out again on a hot day. But no. Old man McKinley saw me with my swimming shorts and told me I'd turn up dead if I stepped in the lake. Cranky bastard. With that plan thoroughly dashed to bits, all I could do was go over to the diner for my interview. It wasn't too hard to spot, what with the glowing pink sign above it reading Diner. Real creative. I think it's actually called the Lake Fargo Diner, but no one calls it anything but the Diner. As soon as I walked into the place, I knew I would somehow be working the worst job in town. I don't even remember the interview. I just walked out holding a second-hand uniform and a printed schedule. The simple act of being in that place was nauseating. If I wasn't in dire need of cash, I probably would have left the whole damn town. The floor was perpetually sticky. My shoes made that awful tearing sound like I'd stepped in the world's largest semi-hardened piece of chewing gum. Every step made that little tap. Every step. It was loud, way too loud for the amount of people working inside. I'd worked in food service before. I know how loud the back is supposed to be. In there, it was like every fan, sink, dish clank, fork scrape, and oven timer were crammed into my ears. Don't even get me started on the smell. The whole place was like a sopping dish rag. Everything was covered in a film of grease and sweat and God knows what else. I never figured out if the walls were meant to be that off-white. They were like smokers' teeth. The first week I worked there was a blur. It was all training and paperwork I'd done a million times at a million other pustulant places. The red pen I used to sign it looked so much brighter on the page, like a spray of fresh blood. The real weird shit happened after about a month. I'd been put on the drive-thru, waiting for the 2 people in town who bother, or the occasional tourist confusing us for a Waffle House. I don't know how the owners managed to keep the doors open 24/7. I certainly didn't enjoy the overnight shift, but it was money I needed in my pockets. I'd been staring off into nothing when the beep of the drive-through motion alarm chimed in my headset. It roused me enough to make me launch into the programmed, "Welcome to Lake Fargo, what can I get for you today?" But when I reached the order station and looked at the cameras, there was no one there. No one stood at the menu or the call box. I know I heard the headset chime. It even set off every food worker's Pavlov response. After a long silence, I brushed it off, setting back to work. After a few hours, just as the sun was starting to rise, I stepped out to throw away a sopping bag of trash. The dumpster wasn't far, maybe 20 feet. It was always kept locked to prevent animals from digging something out and choking. But that morning it was hanging open. Flies and mosquitoes buzzed around the open lid in a thick cloud, only momentarily dispersed by my chucking of a refuse sack. As I stepped closer to close the lid, my gaze shifted to the tree line. Typically, noises in the woods don't get to me. Maybe it was just the silence of the outdoors compared to the constant droning inside, but one rustle of leaves made my eyes snap over. A deer. No matter what horror movies tell you, 9 times out of 10, noises in the woods are deer. This one was odd, though. It didn't run the moment I took a step closer. It barreled me down with these massive dark eyes as I closed the dumpster hatch, locked it, and went back inside. I could still feel it staring at me as I closed the door behind me. I don't know why, but I made sure it clicked closed before I walked away. About a week later, I was on drive-thru again. It was nearly 10 p.m., dark as anything outside and noisy as hell inside. I started to contemplate bringing my earplugs when the order chime went off in my headset. I was already at the till, so when the camera showed an empty drive-thru, my Pavlovian spiel was cut short. This time, I stuck my head out the window to look down the drive. Nothing. Must have been that damn deer, I said to no one. But then I stopped. There was something coming over the headset. It was faint, but loud enough to not just be interference. It was a soft, incessant scratching, paired with the rise and fall of a person breathing. I looked outside again just to make sure, but there was no one there. The breathing continued, a steady, unhurried rise and fall, with a slight crackle to it, the wheeze of a lung infection. The scratching was timed the same, like the air was being scraped out of them and back in again. I took my headset off and gave it a smack against my palm. Once it was back on, the sound had stopped, and I got on with my shift. Although, I did take my pocket mace out with me when I went to take out the trash. After one look at the dumpster, however, that fear gave way to anger and frustration. Whoever had taken the trash out last had clearly left the lid unlocked. The lid was thrown back, bags were torn open and strewn about, trash was everywhere. Bites were taken out of cans and boxes. That awful garbage water that pools in the bags was making puddles on the pavement. Of course, I had to be the one to clean it up. Where deer be damned. Things seemed pretty normal for a while after that. Nearly a week went by without odd animals or creeps breathing down the headset. I was just beginning to convince myself it was all the late night shifts when I heard a single, muffled scratch. I nearly tore my headset off and threw it across the room, but then I heard it again. This time, it was above me. It was a slow, evenly paced scratch, with a rise and fall like diseased lungs. There was a beat, then it started again, further down the room. No one else seemed to hear it. No one looked up from their work. Then it circled back, scuttling towards me from the inner workings of the place. I could hear the claws of some many-limbed beast scraping its way along the crawl space, only to come to a stop above me. I lurched back, dropping my headset with the clatter. My boss just told me to get back to work. I thought I would get some time between the weird shit, but no. The very next day, as the sun went down, I heard it again. An awful respiratory scratch above me. I tried so very hard not to react, staying rooted to my spot by the dish pit. But then the scratching started to move again. circling and dragging all over until it came to the drive-through window. I followed, my feet growing heavy as I neared the camera displays. I told myself it was nothing, that no one was there, and if there is, it's probably just that creepy deer. The camera did show something. It wasn't a deer. I don't know what it was. The camera wouldn't focus on it. I get it. It's a terrible camera meant to show someone pulling up to a speaker. Everything else in the frame was in focus. This thing wasn't. It was vaguely human. It stood on two legs and had a hump where the head should roughly be. It looked malformed, like it was made of blurry lumps in the shape of a body. My eyes kept sliding off it, looking for something in focus to land on. I stood there, feeling my lungs burn in my chest and choke me silent. Over the thunder of my heartbeat, I could just make out the ragged, diseased breathing of the something by the call box. It just stood there, blurry eyes barreling down the camera. It felt like looking at that deer again. We both stood there like that for a long time. I don't know exactly how long. It must have been at least 10 minutes of pure staring. It remained blurry in the camera, my eyes trying to linger on it but only getting a headache in return. Eventually, after a long while, I heard the breathing stop, almost judder, then draw in an agonizingly slow breath. It seemed to hold it for a moment, and then it began to speak. I say that like it gave some sort of speech, but in reality, it only said one word. In a wet, hacking cough of a voice, it said into the speaker, "Food," all drawn out like crushing air from a balloon. It drew air in again, this time sounding like a raw, sucking wound instead of a thing with lungs. The worst part is I found myself nodding, like it was all correct. Like this was right, because yes, of course it wants food. We're at a diner. It's only natural. I must have pressed some button on the screen and put in some kind of order. I just remember taking a paper bag in numb fingers and opening the window. Do you know what I found? Do you want to know what was sitting on that windowsill? A can with a bite in the side, a $20 bill, and a severed tongue. I don't know if it was human, but I know I screamed. I'm pretty sure I threw the food out the window too. I mean, it did place an order. You have to give them what they pay for. And it did pay, I suppose. Well, that's that. This file was apparently left for me at the town diner. The atmosphere in that place was very accurately described by Mr. Mallory, honestly, especially with the stickiness. As far as I'm aware, Isaac Mallory no longer works at Lake Fargo Diner. My attempts to contact him have gone unanswered, but at least this time he seems to be real. He graduated from Morgantown High School in 2010, and he rented several apartments around Appalachia on month-to-month leases. I believe now he lives in Tennessee and works as a janitor. Honestly, after the stickiness, that makes sense. As for the god activity here, I think it might be some sort of manifestation of a bug god. There's this overarching feeling of infestation and nesting. There's this aspect of the learned behavior and the pattern recognition in pest animals, sort of like how crows and raccoons learn when people leave their garbage cans at the end of their drive. This specific manifestation appears non-threatening. Hell, it even left a tip. I don't think it has anything to do with that body. I have yet to see the crime scene or the body itself, but this creature just seems curious. I need to investigate this town more before I make any assumptions, though. I'll send a new tape soon. Personal log. God, that place was disgusting. It was so, I don't know, damp? But also sticky. Honestly, I just went out to get an understanding of the town and stopped in for some food. Oh, and that was exactly as mediocre as it sounds. Surprisingly not sticky, but very salty and dense. I'm, settling in, I suppose. No neighbors have stopped by today, thankfully. No more sheet trays full of desserts. I'll be eating cobblers and cookies with my tea for a while. The town is quiet. It's a dark sky town as well, so it gets very dark when the sun goes down. I'm not sure I like it. End log. Whalefall Gone and Forgotten, Episode 2, The Diner, was written, edited, and produced by Kat Duncan. That's me. I played all the characters, i.e. Ophelia Colt and the dude in the diner at the beginning. I hope we're having fun. I've been posting on TikTok, so if you're here from there, thanks. Yes. I'm gonna try to post these once a month. Probably like around the 30th of every month. Around there. If I start doing things on Patreon, I might make a tier that posts them a day early. My cat is playing with the spring doorstop in the other room, so I'm gonna go play with her. Okay, I love you, bye.